Hey, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining me on my Sunday live stream. We're here to just talk about photography, see what's new, and I'll answer any questions I can on Olympus cameras and photography in general. So again, let's see who's here. Sorry, I always start a few minutes late. I got audio right, I think, and yeah, lighting is good. Comb my hair. All right. Oh my goodness. So it's always, this every week is or whenever I stream, because I stream pretty often now. It's always a treat for me. It's like the highlight of my day to come out and just chat with everyone. And it's good to see a lot of my online friends come back, and I did my best this morning to answer all the questions I had from Facebook and Instagram and my forum and the comments on YouTube. Yeah, the Instagram ones, there's a couple of people I got back to a little late because I'm still not used to checking messages there. I mean, I get the little notification, then when I click on it, I don't see anything new, but then it's like in this holding folder and anyway, I did respond to all the open ones that I could find today. And and then of course the uh everywhere else, the forum, the YouTube comments, etc. So hopefully I'm all caught up, but if I missed your question or you'd like me to answer it here, I can do that if you need a little more detail. And yesterday I had a awesome day. I went out in the morning with the local photography club here run by David Crooks, and got to shoot some pictures at the Great Falls National Park here in Virginia. And it's a really nice park. I wish I could have stayed longer, but I also got a invite to go out to the boat. Forgot to turn up sound. The battery was dead on this from yesterday, so I uh, I plugged it into a power bank. Let me know if there's any static though, because sometimes when I plug it into a power bank, you hear static. Uh, or when I plug it into the computer directly, I hear static. What the heck was I talking about? Where did I leave off? uh, yeah, Seraphin, I saw your photos from the steampunk, and I left a little comment this morning in the forum about, that steampunk. I really love steampunk style because it's kind of a mix between like goth and sci-fi, right? You got kind of this very dark, uh, I forget the word, my vocabulary, dystopic or whatever. Anyway, you got kind of this dark, gritty kind of look like goth, but then you have like this sci-fi element to it too, right? And all the gears and everything, and it's photographically it'd be really interesting uh, to get shots like that, like in a full-on real steampunk world, like maybe visiting an old rundown factory or abandoned factory. Uh, yeah, and Victorian, right? It's kind of mixed with that too, so it's a really interesting blend of genres, I think. Uh, let's see. So good, no static. I'm not Mark the Wolf. I'm not talking. I didn't have any dates this week, and even that last one wasn't really a date. It was just kind of going out with a friend. uh, I'm just seeing who came in. Christopher, John Matthews, awesome. John follows, Mike Ham, Serge. Yeah, everybody's here. I'm so happy you guys come back every week and hang out. But yeah, so what I was talking about, I think, before the sound got cut off, and I'll try and keep an eye on that, is I went out yesterday on a boat with my family. My sister and her brother-in-law have a boat, and got some really good shots. I took like a little over 1,200 shots, maybe a dozen keepers, but some of them came out good. And then I went on a photo walk with the local photography club here, run by David Crooks. I don't know if he's dropped in yet or not. I think I saw David tell it though. He took some great pictures using a Mamiya C330 with the 120 film. It's kind of a cinder block of a camera, but it's rock solid, right? It's like 50 years old, and you can still find one that works. They're not hard to find, a good working order Mamiya, and they run about $300, 300 to 500 depending on condition, but $300 will get you one that works and is fine. And he said David said he's got a Pen F film camera that he's going to show me a couple of that. So I'm looking forward to getting a Pen F film camera. I took my OM2N out, or 2S, and the shutter jammed, and I wasted like, God, maybe 7 or 8 frames trying to get it unjammed on a roll of 36. And ironically, I still couldn't finish the roll. I had some T-Max 400 in there. So I'm curious to see how they come out. I took a couple shots on the boat yesterday too. Pre-ordered my Alice camera. Oh, you're talking to Randy. Sorry, what's an Alice camera? No, yeah, Roberto, I was not sailing. It's a power boat. Has dual engine, eats lots of gas. I think it'll get up to about 30 knots though. It's relatively fast, but it's big. It's like a 40-foot, cabin cruiser kind of boat. But it gets up to speed. I have a picture on my Instagram. We were probably going 25, 30 knots there. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this one. What button is this? This one, right? Oh, dummy. Yeah. This one here. We were booking, but the shutter speed was like, 1/1000th of a second. So it looks like we're standing still, but we were really booking there. So that was fun. And this is kind of a sunset shot because I get a lot of questions on how to take sunset pictures. And I'm not a big sunset guy, but I said, okay, let me try. So this is a single shot, heavily edited. I crushed the blacks all the way down, so the boat itself would be more silhouette, and then I brushed in a little bit more luminance into the sails. But this is with the EM1 Mark III and the 14-150 kit lens, and that lens. That lens is great, kind of an all-around travel camera, but it's got some, it's not a pro lens, so I'm getting like this weird flaring in it and purple fringing, bubbles, and it's not tack sharp like I'm kind of used to when I'm using my pro lenses. But that said, I still think it came out okay. And let me see, this was also with the 14-150 when I was over at Great Falls. There was a guy there named Arnold that really helped me. You'd think I'd know what to do, right? You'd think a competent photographer could just go out and just try every genre in one day, right? But I was trying to do some sports actions and I just failed miserably. One, it's mostly user error in terms of timing, right? Like you have to kind of know the patterns of how your subject's going to be moving around in whatever sport action it is, right? So like in this case, this kayaker came around a second time, and I wasn't ready because I didn't realize how quickly he was able to hike back up the rocks and come back down this little waterfall. So I missed a shot there, and then I was trying pro capture, and I was trying continuous low, and it was a mess. I really got so many bad shots of this blurry, and then, you know, Arnold told me, he says, just set your shutter speed to 1/1000th of a second, and you know, continuous low, so you get to autofocus, which is common sense. You know, if I went there prepared to take pictures like this, I could have thought that through, like with the suggestions he gave me. But your mind just gets so clouded because the theme on the photo walk was to take pictures of triangles, which I got like 1 or 2 triangle pictures. So I'm not going to win that one. But this picture was like at 1/1250. Oh, I put the frickin' things there. 1/1250th of a second, ISO 320 f 5.6, and then I just edited in Lightroom a little bit. But this is pretty much what it looked like straight out of camera, to be honest. I just added a little contrast to it, and then this is not my favorite shot that I took. I took another one. It's in my Flickr. This one I really liked. Man, I added the crap out of this though. This also I took with the 14-150, but I took 3 shots, so it's a pano shot. So I took 3 shots, stitched them in Photoshop or Lightroom, and then did light painting and then edit the crap out of it. But the original image is really dark because it was like 7:30 in the morning, so the sun hasn't really come out yet over the trees. So it's really dark. I had to bring the shadows way up on this image. And with all the editing I did, it got a little bit blotchy when you look close up. It almost looks like, if you get this close, it looks like an oil painting. It's just so blotchy, right? Because of all the editing I did. But I think it came out okay. So anyhow, oh, Levente's here. Hi. And I got a new lucky hat. So the local photography club, we have our own hats here now. So I'm one of the gang. It just says, what does it say here? It says Virginia Beltway Photography Meetup. So definitely, if you're in the area, you guys should come out and do some photo walks with us. We're going to go to the Maryland side of the Great Falls National Park next weekend. And like I said, David Crooks does a great job with the photo club, keeping it organized and everybody together. And he's very patient, waiting for people that show up late, like me, all the time. I'm really happy with that. With, you know, finding that club, or they found me through the channel, and I had said, hey, that's awesome, I'll come on out. And let's see, Randy says, I mucked up the light painting in the desert too. Yeah, I know what that's like. Oh, thank you, nature. Yeah, it came out good. You guys should see the original. Let me pull that up while we're chit-chatting. The original was just so dark, like you wouldn't think there was anything to recover, but things have recovered. Jeff Painter's here. Oh, I saw your Jeff, I saw your Instagram this morning with the close-ups. I guess you must have got a 60 macro because those are really close and really sharp images on your Instagram. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, check this out. So there's the original image, right? It's like totally dark. But I wanted to make sure I saved the highlights by a big margin because I wanted to capture all the colors in the sky. And then the rocks, they're just rocks. So I didn't mind underexposing those. You can bring up the exposure a little bit And if there's a little bit of grain when you're pulling the shadows, because they're rocks, they're not noticeable, right? Any grain that you might get when you're pulling it up. So uh, that's the thing about photo editing is you get a feel for what you can do with different kinds of pictures, right? Some pictures like this one, you can pull up shadows with a little bit of grain in it, but it's not going to be noticeable because rocks are kind of gritty anyway, right? And so is the water. It's all over the place. Uh, so my intent here was to save the highlights and all the color information I could in the highlights so that I could bring that color out in the sky. And then uh, I could paint the rocks, I can bring the shadows up in the rocks. But the detail's a little better. It's a little better in the original, but not much. So this lens, this 14 to 150 lens is just not tack sharp, right? I mean, it's fine for what it does. It was awesome taking it out on the boat yesterday because, I was shooting seagulls with no success. The most boring bird ever to picture, photograph are seagulls, uh, but it was nice to have that versatility because I wanted to get shots, with the family in the boat so I could zoom out to 14 millimeters. And then sometimes I wanted to get up closer, and do tighter shots like when they caught a crab or whatever. We did some crabbing and fishing, things like that. And so I'm not knocking the 14 to 150 at all. It's a terrific lens. It's weather sealed along with the EM1 Mark III, so I didn't have to worry about any spray from the ocean and things like that. So I really like that lens a lot. But because someone asked me in the forum or somewhere recently about that lens, because they were thinking about getting the 12 to 40 Pro, and they wondered how much sharper it is than say the 14 to 150 kit that a lot of people get with their camera. And I can say that it's a lot sharper. But what I'm going to do is, I used to do those side-by-side tests, kit lens versus pro lens. I haven't done one with this lens yet, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my 12 to 40 Pro out and compare it in a similar zoom range to the 14 to 150 so you guys can see. And I haven't even compared this lens yet either, this 12 to 32 kit lens from Panasonic, which I think is nearly as sharp as the Pro lens from Olympus, to be honest. But we'll see, when you do a side-by-side test with normal shots, like I'm going to do a couple portraits, maybe one landscape, and see how they look, just straight out of camera. And I think the results between the kit lens and the Pro lens will be obvious. It's going to be sharper with the Pro lens. But it'll be interesting to compare the 12 to 32 Panasonic kit lens with the Pro lens, because a lot of you guys haven't seen that. And I can tell you that in high res mode, it's definitely as sharp as the Pro lens. But just in the center, I didn't really pixel peep the whole frame. I'm gonna try and do that this week, because it's I think that's a really good lens for $100 and some. You can buy it all day long for $125. And other than it's being slow, but it's offset because it's a very compact, lightweight lens. And it works great on the phase detect cameras from Olympus for video, for vlogging and things. And that's my primary lens that I take out when I vlog. Roberto's asking, is that what they call shooting to the left? No, I think that's exposing to the right. No, you're right. That's exposing to the left, I guess, right? I guess if you want to call it a technique, it's exposing to the left. So we're talking about this waterfall pic, right? Yeah, I guess that would be exposing to the left. Let's look at the histogram. See what the histogram looks at like. So that's interesting. I don't use histograms. I just look at the picture and, it's kind of like, I guess if I got more into landscape photography, I'll be more conscious of the histogram, like Thomas Heaton. But you can see the histogram is definitely very heavy on the right, and there's not much information on the left side in the shadows. So if you pull those shadows up, it's going to be grainy, you know. But I can't pull the shadows up. Like if I bump the exposure to bring the shadows up, you can see the highlights all get clipped, right? So, oops. Here's a couple of other shots. This one I edited a little bit. See here, the kit lens looks really good. Even when I punch in, it looks tack sharp. So when the light is low, yeah, you're gonna lose detail too, obviously. Just so you know, because this is actually really sharp. And here's one I haven't edited yet. This is a raw, straight out of camera. So it's a tiny bit soft. You know, you do a little sharpening in post. But a pro lens, yeah, pro lens, you're gonna get something sharp like this to start with, and then you can sharpen it even more and get some really amazing detail. And I think I was at, what focal length was I at on this? This is something I probably could have used the 12 to 40 Pro because I was at 47 millimeters. So yeah, I could easily use my Pro lens for a shot like this. But anyhow, I forgot why I went over there to look at that. Oh my God, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Pay my electricity bill. Have you or others used Plotoverse? No, I have not. Got it as part of a current 5-day deal for a year. Wow, 5-a-day deal. I have no idea even what Plotoverse is. Never heard of it. Yes, I intentionally underexposed, Roberto. That's why I went back to that image. I did intentionally underexpose the image, knowing that the rocks don't matter if I get grain in them, because rocks are grainy anyway when you get a sharp picture of them, right? You see more grain in the rock, the texture of the rock, I should say. Yeah, in the UK, always struggling with light. Yeah, I hear it rains a lot over there. I've never been to the UK, but yeah, if it's always cloudy and raining over there, yeah, that would kind of suck for me because I'm used to, like, we had awesome weather all this summer, and the winter I hope is the same. Hopefully we don't get any snow. Like last year there was hardly any snow. If we get snow this year, oh, I hate the winter time. I mean, if it's gonna snow, just snow like, you know, a couple of feet and bury everybody into their houses, and so nobody leaves, and then you know, except the few photographers want to go out and take pictures. But uh, I hate that slushy, dirty snow that we get all the time. And fungi growing well here now in the rain, damp, great for macro work. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, fungi and mushrooms and all that crap. You know, that's really makes terrific photography. You know. And Seraphin says, I forgot what it's called on Olympus, but I definitely depend on the blinkies. Oh, yeah, the highlight shadow indicators, right? Yeah, I talked about that like in one of my first or second videos ever, right? Was using the highlight shadow indicators. Is Virginia a nature state? It's a big state. So there's very high density parts of areas like I live in. And then it quickly drops off to something like this in the Great Falls, right, where you can go hiking for miles. So it's very pretty good variety, but the only challenge is it's not quiet anywhere. Even in parks like this, there's always planes flying over. Not as much now because of, you know, there's not a lot of air flights going on, but you know, traffic noise, everything is constant no matter where you are in this area. So I just can't wait to move to just a quiet town, you know, where I can get some peace. I can't believe, I guess it's Sunday, but you know, all day, every day, there's helicopters that fly maybe 100 feet over my house, it feels like. Never mind, the businesses right around my house too. I live kind of on a busy street. I know I complain about my neighbors running their businesses sometimes, from their house, but the street I live on, I think is kind of mixed because there's a gas station like right there, and then a humongous church just 3 doors down. So two churches actually across the street from each other next to the gas station. And then a little further down, the pawn shops and all the ghetto. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it's it's a busy area that I live in, and I just want to go to a small, quiet town where there's no traffic, uh, and I can just go tip out the front door and go hiking. Right now, I have to drive to go anywhere really decent for hiking. It's a couple hours away, um, where it's kind of quiet and peaceful. Like these parks here, like Northern Virginia, they're nice, but they're not quiet. There's still ambient noise, artificial ambient noise from the city and everything else. Uh, Fairfin says Ocala, Florida would be good for you. Lots of nature and horse. Oh, really? Yeah, I like Florida. I'm a little hurricane weary though. So I'm still thinking North Carolina, South Carolina area, maybe Georgia. Yeah, church right near you. Well, the gas station has a garage too, a couple of garages, so they're always working on cars. I don't really hear it from here because they're just far enough away that. But if they're getting their power tools out and stuff, sometimes I hear it. And oh, John Matthews is here. Saw your comment on the BMPCC. Theoretically, the BMPCC has similar low light performance and dynamic range, especially raw DNG. Maybe you should rent them and um, yeah, I saw a video comparing the latest Panasonic camera, which I think is like that box thing. I think that uses the 10 megapixel, same 10 megapixel sensor, but it's their cinema camera, right? The Panasonic, compared against the S5, pulling highlights in particular, and there was no comparison. I mean, there was no comparison between the two. Uh, God, let me pull it up. Because you can see all the videos. John suggested I look because I've been talking about getting the S5 for some video work that I do professionally. I was looking at all these videos. Uh, like this video bothered me because there were some noise issues in the shadows, which I'm really trying to avoid. And because I have to underexpose a little bit to bring the highlights in because of the kind of video I do in real estate. And if I have to bring the shadows up, I cannot deal with the noise that I'm getting off the cameras I use now. Uh, yeah, it was this video I looked at. I looked at this one, the S5 versus the BMPCC 6K. That's not the same camera, but where is it? I can't find it. I can't find it. But I'm digging into what I can find on YouTube on those two cameras. And so far, noise is the primary issue in the shadows with my video work. And then being able to pull highlights. Because, yeah, on paper, I'm seeing 13 stops at dynamic range with the S5 or the BMPCC, the Blackmagic camera, right? It's 13 and a half stops of dynamic range. The S5 will give you 13. The GH5 will give you 12. And I'm trying to find out how much difference having 10-bit makes, because I am able to, I have recorded in 422 color, and that alone feels like it gives you better dynamic range. By giving you more color information, you can see more things. So I'm thinking, uh, and I looked at the G9 again because that's definitely, I've confirmed, the new firmware update did give internal 10-bit 422 recording, but you have to pay extra to get the vlog, which is something I would be using to pull as much information as I can. See. Oh, thank you, William. I appreciate it. And Randy, you're 20 minutes from hiking. In the center of state. Well, yeah, when you're inland, right? But then you're so far away from the beach. You know, Seraphin's talking about Florida being in the middle of Florida, which is, 2-3 hours from the coast. It's like, I think if you move to Florida, you kind of want to live on the coast or near the coast. So you can just, like I said, tip out the front door and go to the beach. If you're going to live in the middle, I think there are better places to live, with no alligators and things. uh, oh, hey, Lynn, how are you? You should get to Deltaville, Virginia. Okay, I'll check that out. That's interesting. It's still too cold up here though, the winters. So that's why I want to go a little further south. And then Music Sound Gear says, something you said in the last Q&A really helped made my photo shoot yesterday more fun. Stop trying to make every photo an epic photo or something. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know, right? Just go and have fun. I mean, God, when you start overthinking your shots and stuff, just going out to do photography becomes more of a chore because you're just now I get it. If you're trying to learn photography, go out and try and learn something very specific. Yeah, just do your best, right? But like when I'm out on a photo walk with the club, or I'm, uh, like I went out on a boat yesterday, I'm just there to just have some fun and take some shots. So that's why I missed a lot of shots that were all user error, pretty much, right? People, you just, what I should say is, I think these YouTube reviews and all these videos you see online, they give this false impression that you can rely on the camera to do everything for you. This has terrific autofocus. This has terrific dynamic range. This one has great, whatever. And ultimately, it still comes down to your skill set as a photographer. Like there was a post from ERA or EGA on my forum asking about how to shoot. He was having trouble shooting action shots, right? And he showed me the settings, and I gave a few tips there because he didn't really talk about his shutter speed or his shutter mode that he's using. He only talked about CAF and the release being set to lock focus first and a couple other things. But most also important is your shutter mode that you're in. You need to be in continuous low shutter, and I like to knock it down to 3 or 4 frames per second on that camera. It was the M5 Mark II because it's a 5 frame per second maximum in continuous low with autofocus. I like to knock it down to 3 or 4 frames to slow it down a little bit, to give the autofocus system, the CPU in the camera, to be able to calculate the exposure or find the exposure in the frame, in addition to the focusing motors in the lens being able to keep up with the action. So yeah, you're going to get less shots, but ideally the more shots, you'll get more shots in focus. So ultimately overall, you'll have more keepers. And also I made that note that it is, 90% of doing sports action is all skill set. You have to be good at doing action photography. Like I'm not, because I had so many missed focus shots on that kayaker guy. But with practice, I got a little better in just a very short time. I finally got a few shots in focus. And then if I was there to do action shots, like if I go back there tomorrow morning, for example, of course there'll be no kayakers because everybody's working, but I would definitely do a much better job than I did today. I'd be going there with a single purpose. So yeah, go out and just, if you're going out with a single purpose to learn a particular technique, yeah, that's when you spend time racking your brain and making everything, and practicing. But other than that, just go out and enjoy your camera. Yes, the Black Magic, there's two problems with the BMPCC, really, was the battery life, right? It's 30 minutes tops, is what I'm hearing on that, which is not a big an issue. I bring a couple extra batteries, I'll be okay. But it's a little bit of a workflow issue because I'm on a gimbal, and swapping the battery is going to require detaching it from the gimbal to put the battery in, uh, which I'm not digging that too much. The other issue is and I have to double check, but I'd have to buy a CFast card, which is, a couple $100. I'd have to get at least 128 gig, but I really would rather have a 256 gig CFast card. So that's adding to the price of the camera, in addition to getting a CFast reader. Uh, so I'll have to see though. I mean, there's so many pluses to this BMPCC that I haven't ruled it out. But I feel like the S5, and I have to make sure it has the Vlog, or if I have to buy it separately. But if I'm going to spend money on a dedicated camera for video, it has to work in my workflow, because the BMPCC it would be great in a studio setting where you can set it up on a rig and you have crew there keeping batteries charged for you at all times, so you can swap out, and they're doing that for you, and all you have to do is focus on the videography. But I feel like it's not a run and gun type camera that I have to do like when I'm doing my real estate work. So I'm a little worried about the workflow there. And yeah, it's a lot easier because you're dealing with raw images, so it's going to be a lot easier in the editing portion in terms of workload on the computer. But then your file sizes are, humongous, right? That's why I don't even know if a 256 gig card is going to cut it on the BMPCC, because like 3 minutes of video is like 64 gig or something like that. And I typically record, 20, 30 minutes, well, about 20 minutes of video, and I trim that down to about 2 or 3 minutes for in the final version. I have to really think it through a little bit. Right now, like I was saying, the OM log 400 on the Olympus is getting me there. What I would say acceptable that I can charge for, and get paid for. But I'd really like to take it to the next level, and it has to be a significant jump from what I get with my Olympus cameras to what I would buy next. I need to see a significant jump in video quality, meaning being able to pull the highlights and get good color, and pull the shadows if I need to, and not get grain and noise. I might have to look at that Neat Video noise reduction that they have for video, because that's only $100, and that might solve my problem. At least with the shadow noise, it's not going to help me with the uh, it's not going to help me with the highlights though, which is the other issue. Um, so yeah, there's a lot. I'm thinking about it though, but I appreciate that suggestion because I totally forgot about that camera, the BMPCC. And it's a little bit wide. I don't know if that would work on my gimbal quite as well. It should, but uh, yeah. So it's the memory storage portion combined with the battery issue is concerning me a little bit in the workflow in the field with the BMPCC. Uh, but what's nice is they include a full license to DaVinci Resolve, which I don't own. I use the free version, And a full license is so much better in terms of processing because it actually uses the decode and encoding engine in the GPU, so that you get much faster, render times and all that. But I don't know. I'm talking about video. I don't know if anybody cares about video, but that's what's going on. So I appreciate that suggestion though, because like I said, I totally forgot about that camera. And yesterday at the Steampunk Festival, which was good relearning with how little I've been able to do portrait photography this year. Yeah, you did get some great shots though, Seraphin. I really like those shots that you took. So good job. Oh, hello, Jalay. And my sets are good to prepare. Yes, definitely my sets. When I do my professional work, I definitely have all my sets set. I try to do it before I leave the house, but before I start actually taking pictures, I sit down and I make sure my sets are correct. So on my EM1 Mark III, right now I have all the my sets the way I want, because that's the camera I use in my work. Oh, thank you, Steve. Great philosophy on photo walks. And good morning, PJ. John, you'd say, hello. Birds are hard for me. I can't do birding and bird photography at the same time. I either have to do one or the other. If I focus more on skill set for bird photography, I would get better. Yeah, definitely. Birds are another really tough thing, right? Because they come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, and certainly bird photography, especially tiny birds, when you have good lenses, that makes a big difference. So that you can get the detail of the little fine feathers and everything. Uh, yeah, that's where really it makes a big difference, I think. Like when I was shooting that kayaker, yeah, good lens would get me a better image, but uh, as just an enthusiast casual photographer, the kit lenses are fine. But kit lenses, they will struggle with bird photography in terms of getting that detail. I mean, you can get the shots and enjoy it, but you're not going to get shots that you're going to be, I've never been happy with too many of my bird shots unless I can get really, really close. I need to experiment a little bit with using flash with birds. Because believe it or not, even the Godox TT350, I practiced a little bit one time where I was getting enough light onto the bird using an on-camera flash. Because birds, there's a lot of backlighting issues too, right? Because you're always pointing up at a tree, for example, but then there's this bright sky behind them. So you have to overexpose, and then your shutter speed gets really slow. It's complicated, bird photography. So I was thinking about using flash maybe with the intent to do bird photography only and see if my results improve. And they have to improve. Because flash improves all kinds of photography, and it's definitely would improve bird photography, I think. And Marco says, don't spend money on any dedicated video camera until you see what Ollie has planned for upcoming video-centric firmware. Yeah, I know about the Ninja support coming, and that's not going to help me in my workflow because I don't want to have to carry it, a whole separate freaking thing on my rig. I just want to be able to put the camera on a gimbal and get decent video. And like I said, with OM Log 400, I get decent video at a point that I can charge for it. I have no problem. I had a little problem when I was using my DJI Osmo Pocket. So when the lighting was good, it was fine. I was able to get good video. But when the lighting dropped, I switched over to using a gimbal and EM1 Mark III because I was not happy with the video I was getting out of the DJI Osmo when I got into lower light situations. And dynamic range and all that stuff, right? So I'm pretty content. So that's why I really need to see a big jump. Now, if the firmware includes some kind of 10-bit 422 internal recording, I'll even take 8-bit 422 internal. But if they come out with 10-bit 422 internal like a week after I buy another camera, I'm going to be pissed. No question. It happens every time too, right? It's like Netflix took Friends, one of my favorite shows, right? Took Friends out of their video library. So I went out and I got the $150. I mean, I asked for it as a gift for Christmas because on Christmas we get to kind of give ideas what you want. I said, yeah, the Blu-ray set of Friends, 10 seasons or whatever it is, that's what I want. Because Netflix doesn't show it anymore, or they didn't have it in their library. Excuse me, they did not have it in their video library at the time for a long time. And then I get the box set, Blu-ray box set, and I love it. But then, like, the next month, frickin' Netflix had Friends on their video list. So it kind of made having the Blu-ray set kind of moot. And I'm like, dang. And that's what's going to happen as soon as I buy a cinema camera. But yeah, that's why I'm very hesitant, Marco, to buy another camera right now, because I don't have a feel for how much better another camera is going to do versus the OM Log 400 that I'm using. If it's just going to be just a tiny bit better, I'm not spending $2,000 plus all the other crap that you have to do with that. And Randy says, when I was set at sea in the Navy, it was 10 times what I saw the other night. Oh, sorry, that wasn't for me. And Jeff Painter's asking, Rob, is it possible to get a 17-inch laptop fast enough for photo editing for under $1,000? Yeah, photo editing, you can probably find a 6-core, even you definitely can. The problem with photo editing is most of the money in the laptop is in the display, or a lot of the money is in the display. So the key is you can buy any modern laptop really that has 6 or more cores in it, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about the graphics card for photo editing. It doesn't make any difference. But the challenge is finding a laptop with a good display so that you get nice accurate colors when you're looking at it, good contrast and good brightness. I shopped laptops mainly for video work, and then by extension photo work's going to be fine. But when you're looking at something for photo work only, then the monitor becomes a big part of it. Unless you're going to hook up an external monitor, then it's moot. But I assume when you're asking about a 17-inch, you want a good 17-inch monitor. So the things you want to look for, 6 cores or better. Doesn't matter if it's the U versions, which are the ultra low voltage versions of the CPU, and Intel and AMD both have their ultra low voltage type CPUs. But it's the number of cores that you have that's important there. And then Intel is a little better, I think, in photo editing, because a lot of the photo editing is single core type processes. And the Intel chipsets have better single core processing, or is faster. But the differences are small. What you really want to focus on in a laptop is the display. So you want to look for something minimum, I'd say 300 nits brightness with a contrast of, say, 900, 800 or better to 1. If you can find one 1,000 to 1, those are kind of the best. And then, and I'm talking about the $1,000 price range, right? And then also, if they claim 100% sRGB, 95, 97% is fine, but get close as you can to 100% sRGB for the colors. So if the laptop has good color, they're going to tell you that it's 95 to 100% sRGB. If it has bad color, you won't see it listed. They're going to leave that part out, right? So it's kind of misinformation by lack of information. But if they give you that information telling you it's 95 to 100%, then that's good. And if they go further to say it's Pantone calibrated and all this other stuff that doesn't really matter, even better. And then if they claim the brightness around 300 nits, and if they can show you, tell you the contrast. Contrast is a little bit harder to find. That's a little bit less common because a lot of displays have great color, great brightness, but then the contrast is around 600, 700. It's a little bit low. So I'll give you a recommendation. Well, that's a 15-inch. But the HP Omen 15-inch laptops, the newest HP Omens, they have great brightness, great color. The contrast is a little bit low, 600 or 700, but still decent. You get good processing power, enough memory and an SSD, good cooling for good long thermal performance. If they come out with a 17-inch version for 11 or 1200, it's worth it. Now the laptops that are notoriously bad in the $1,000 price range in terms of monitors, ironically, are the HPs. I cannot find an HP laptop with a good monitor, but they have the best selection in 17-inch. MSI. So I don't know, honestly, I don't think at $1,000 you'll get a good monitor. You're gonna have to go to about 1200 to get the kind of monitors, but just keep shopping. There might be some good deals in October, right? Or November, whatever Black Friday is. Those are the main criteria that I would look for. All right. In Florida, when there's a gator on my friends, the front porch is an excuse allowance for... Oh, really? Man. I don't know. I could not, because my dog, I'd be scared more for my dog than for myself. Would get eaten by an alligator. She's dogs, they start sniffing around and they rely on their nose so much, they don't see the frickin' gator right in front of them and they're gone. They get so focused on smell, They don't smell the gator. They just smell, oh, gator was here. And then, no, it's still here, dummy. I feel so bad for people that have lost their dogs in Florida. Anyhow. And not in many areas they have a season. I'm not sure about Florida, Alabama. They have seasons. Yeah, that's true. But I would live a little more inland, right? I wouldn't live so close to the coast if I'm going to live like in North Carolina, South Carolina, because of the mountains, And then if I need to go to the beach, I'll go to the beach. But if I'm going to live in Florida, there's no mountains, right? It's just all flat with alligators. So I'm going to live near the coastline if I'm going to live in Florida. Oh, hi, David. How are you? David Crooks is here. I talked about the club this morning and the photo walk a little bit this morning. David Crooks runs the club, the local photography club here, 495 Virginia Beltway Photographers Meetup. They're on meetup.com. You can find them pretty easily. Like I said, if you guys are local to me in the DC metro area, you should join us. And some bird photographers use a Fresnel extender flash. Yes, I've seen that. I would think that Yongnuo, that roundhead flash that they got, not Yongnuo, I'm sorry, Godox, would be really good for like bird photography. Because it's plenty bright. It's kind of a big flash on a Micro Four Thirds, but it's got enough power. But even the Godox TT350 might be just enough for a little fill flash. Like I said, I'll have to experiment a little one day. And Jalea is asking, is it a good idea to put a LED light on top of my camera for shooting indoors and keep the shutter speed up? I'm getting puppy next week and want to take... No, I would use a flash and bounce it off the ceiling for that kind of thing. Video LED lighting, the problem is the color that it reproduces when you take a picture using an LED light is piss poor. It's fine for video work because video just sucks anyway. I mean, compared to a still image, video is, you know, it just doesn't compare. So use a flash. Use a flash. I mean, any light is better than no light, right? And they sell supposedly LED lights that have a very high CRI index, but they're going to be expensive. And they only last maybe 30 minutes with the little tiny batteries they have in them. So I wouldn't, and they get hot. Man, you'll burn your fingers taking that little light off. I bought a Litro thing over here. Oh, God dang it. Yeah, I bought this thing. And I used it on a couple of photo shoots to illuminate things. But they were like leaves and very small things, right? Where your human eye is not that sensitive to the inaccuracies of those kinds of things, right? But if you use this LED light on a person or something that the human eye is very familiar with, like your own dog and things like that, you're going to be like, the colors are terrible. And that's the thing with photography and the kinds of things you photograph. Like I was talking about the rocks, being able to pull the shadows on the rocks, because I don't care about the grain because rocks are gritty anyway, right? Naturally with their texture. Color is kind of the same way in that you have to have very high quality lighting to make sure that when you take a picture of something that the colors look right. Otherwise, you're going to spot it right away. And that's why flash is generally much better than these LED lights when you're taking pictures of people and your pets and things that your eye is very trained and very familiar with in terms of color. And like I said, you can buy like this. I don't know what CRI they claim on this is, but the white balance and everything is very tough to get right with this LED light. When you use a flash, getting the white balance correct is very easy, and the quality of light coming from a flash is very, very high. So yeah, I don't recommend this unless you have to. So your best bet is flash. Jelly. You know, like this shot. Let me show you. I mean, it's nothing special, but you know, this is just a simple shot. One flash Godox TT350, and I think this one's straight out of camera. I didn't have to do any editing really because the eyes have good color, you know, and her black skin and the very subtle tones in the black. Everything is great in this shot with a flash. But anyhow, that's my recommendation for that. And Morgan, you like the weather in Kentucky? I've never considered Kentucky. I have to think about that a little bit. I just like the mountains in North Carolina and stuff, but I don't know you geographically. I have no idea where Kentucky is. And Nature says, I still have to buy the EM1 Mark III, which should be better for video, particularly with stabilization. Yes, it is awesome for stabilization in video. And DeMorgan's asking, do you still have native coyotes there? Here the coy wolf is driving out the smaller coyote. I have not seen a coyote in a long time, but at my sister's house where there's a lot more open land, yeah, coyotes are a problem. They get to her chickens. And yeah, coyotes are still pretty plentiful, I think, in certain parts. John Matthews is asking, in my opinion, the OM log gets you 90% there, but would a viewer or customer notice, especially at the resolution they are looking at? I have my doubts. Like I said, I think in good light, you're fine. But my problem is when I'm doing these panning shots and slider shots where the camera goes from very shadowy areas to very highlight, very strong backlighting. OM log, like I said, gets me 90% there, and I'm fine with charging for that kind of work from the OM log 400. But I feel like, there's some clients that I want to get that do very high-end residential real estate, multi-million-dollar properties, that I don't know if I would be comfortable with the output from the OM 400 in every situation. Because right now I've only done like commercial properties with the OM log 400, and those properties you don't have to be quite as critical, or it doesn't have to be, because commercial properties, people when they look at those, the buyers, they're generally going to refit the place and gut it anyway. They don't care what it looks like, right? But a residential buyer, they're going to move in and live there. And it's very important what it looks like. So I want to be able to make sure I have the best representation of that property. And the videos that I've seen produced by the other videographers are okay. They're definitely using a full frame, most likely a Canon camera or a Sony. And the video that they produce is okay. It's nothing that I can't do with my Olympus camera. So what I'm wondering is if I go with, say, an S5 or more video-centric type camera, can I take it up another level and do better than them? I want to do better than them. And right now, all I can do is maybe the same as they do. And that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying too hard. But I may have to rent a camera, which I hate the idea of renting. Because you're out $100-200 for renting that you could have put to the price of actually buying it. And that's my problem with renting. And I don't get paid enough to rent a camera every time I want to do a video job. So that's why I'm like really digging into all the video reviews that I'm finding. And it's hard to find a relevant video for the kind of work that I want to do. Because what's really frustrating about all these reviews, right, is, and it's not just for videography, it's photography too. They say, what's the high ISO performance? They want to see how much noise you have, how much detail you lose. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know we're going to have, noise, and we're going to lose detail at higher ISOs, and maybe this camera's a stop better than this camera. In photography, that doesn't matter for me, right? Because I'm using a flash, I'm bracketing shots, and then I'm blending all this together. So the size of the sensor is virtually irrelevant for me. But in video work, you don't have that you don't have that option. You're taking a video and you're stuck with whatever the camera captures, and there's very little latitude in terms of working with a single image. Just like in photography, I could not take a single image in photography in the kind of work that I do and be able to push and pull shadows and whatever and get a decent image. It's just not possible in real estate photography. You have to bracket your shots, you have to use a flash, and you have to blend those back together to get a picture that's deliverable. In video, you can't do that. You cannot bracket shots in video, right? Because there's constant motion. You can add lighting, but lighting is a challenge with video. Because to put the lighting in a place that you would need it, it's going to get in the shot. And never mind it looking, it's So video lighting is a big deal. You have to bring in a lot of lighting for video to work, uh, which I'm not going to do that for the jobs that I get. So I want to be able to get a camera that I have some latitude in post-processing. So anyway, I'm still learning. You know, I still got a lot to learn about video. I can do just enough that I can get paid for it anyway. A little east up, the mountains are nice. Oh, okay, DeMorgan. I'll have to look at Kentucky. I don't know. When I lived in the RV before my cancer, we spent some time there. Oh, okay. And the Mark Wolf says the Omen 15 2020 Ryzen version. Only problem is that other models have the brightness issue when you can't lower the brightness. Ah, I'm not sure what you mean by the other models. Jeff says great advice. You're welcome. And Nature says I could do with the new laptop, so we'll check out your recommendations. Even my iMac 27 is getting a little old now. Yeah, aren't we? Aren't we all broke but healthy? And that is fair trade. Yes. Yeah. Good job overcoming that. Oh my God. My father passed away from cancer, so I know it's not a small thing if you can overcome that. And Jock, hello. Wow, a little late today, but so was I. And let's see. DeMorgan says, I still have some limitations from the surgeries and chemo, but luckier than many. Yes, definitely. And the Mark Wolf says, what's your take on the O-ring LEDs that beauty vloggers use for selfies? It's kind of mixed. Some people like that little O-ring kind of highlight in their eyes. Other people hate it. I don't like it myself. I don't like the O-ring. I use like just a big umbrella here, as you know. So I get just a single point of light for key lighting in my eye. And I think the O-ring is fine for streaming and things like that, but I don't know if I'd use it for like portrait photography or anything. Or even vlogging might be okay, but it's just weird to have this big round light around your camera. uh, and if we're talking about taking pictures with that, I don't know. I'd still rather use a flash and bounce the light everywhere, put it on TTL, auto white balance, and we're good. But any lighting has a very specific purpose, right? Ring lighting is really good for making sure the lighting is even and there's no shadows, right? But I don't think it's as good for photography because you like shadows and texture generally. But if you're not going for that and you want even lighting, then yeah, ring light makes sense. And on people, it's just dependent if you don't mind that round ring light as the key light in the eyes or the catch lights in the eyes. Yes. Nature is saying he uses an LED light that you can adjust the Kelvin, right? Um, like I said, LED lighting's fine on objects that you're not sensitive to the colors, right? Like fungi can be any number of colors, and if you take a picture with good contrast and good shadow detail and everything with a good, with any kind of light, it's going to be fine. It's going to look great. But like I said, when you put that light, is there any juice in this? No, there's nothing. I'm going to say, if I turn this on now, you could see what I'm talking about. And I'm not using high quality lighting now even. That's why I don't think the colors in my streaming are great, but it's just a stream, so who cares? Uh, but if I wanted really good lighting, I'm just using what they call HD LED lighting that I bought from, I think, Walmart or Lowe's. And I believe it has a CRI in the mid 80s, which is not great, but it's much better than, say, in the mid 60s or 50s, that your generic LED bulbs that you use in your house, like you would buy from Walmart or something. I spent a little bit more, like $3 a bulb instead of like $1.50 a bulb, for the slightly better lighting quality. But I'm not spending $100 and $200 for this high-end video LED lighting for live streaming. You know, it just now if somebody wants to send me one to review and I can get it for free, that would be freaking awesome. So if anybody's watching that wants to do that, that would be awesome. But I'm not paying for it personally. You know, the lighting here is good enough. You know, it's nice and even. That's the most important thing. But I probably get better results, like with the green screening, uh, with a higher quality light. When you have poor quality lighting, green screening gets harder. Everything gets harder with poor quality light and video. And the Morgan says, no small feat. Yes, definitely. Arthur Leyenberger, hi. Says, hello Rob, I'm enjoying my EM5 Mark III and I am selling my remaining Canon equipment. I'm thinking of getting a backup body, EM1 II or another EM5 III. Get an EM1 Mark II as a backup. You know, just to have some variety. You know, if you have two EM5 Mark IIIs, because you gain a lot with the EM1 Mark II, because I have a video comparing the two cameras, you gain a lot of professional features that if you're not there already, you'll really appreciate you'll really appreciate those features if you're going to use them. You'll really appreciate it. You know, obviously dual card slot, but you can also do tethering with the EM1 Mark II that you can't do with the EM5 Mark III. So there might be times when you want to tether and do some, you know, use the Olympus tethering software and stuff. And just, you know, like I said, just for fun, right? I mean, it's designed for professionals, but you can use it, right? Amateurs can use the tethering software. Why not? And it has, I like the custom mode dial. You have C1, 2, and 3 on the M1 Mark II, which is really handy for setting up custom custom settings when you go out. Gosh, what else is there? The Pro Capture. Oh, the EM5 III has Pro Capture, but yeah, and the grip, right? And all the, you know, the build quality and everything else, because it's an all metal camera. Well, more or less, more so than the M5 Mark III, right? Which is 100% plastic, I think. So, and it's the same money, right? So definitely get the M1 Mark II as a backup. Soft Fun says, looking for a video light to use for lighting 360 imaging as the camera won't fire flash. Any thoughts on the rotor lights? No. Yeah, that's definitely an area that I'm not versed in, you know, dealing with video lighting or 360 lighting. I would think, you know, in a 360 setup though, the light would be so small, even if it produced enough light, it would cast hard shadows, you know, in a 360 type image. So your best bet really is to take two shots and have the light behind the camera that's, you know, behind the lens that's taking the image, depending on what camera you're using. If you're using like one of those 360 cameras, I think only the Ricoh Thetas have that ability to shoot one side, then the other side, and then stitch them later. So you can move the light from front one side to the other side. But if you used a light that would go around the camera, it's going to be small and cast hard shadows, in my opinion. I don't think that's a viable option. But I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I don't know for a fact what kind of lighting's available. And Jalay says the flash on my M10 Mark III It's too low when I use the 21 to 40 f2.8. I get a shadow. Yeah, you have to use a bounce flash, one that points up to the ceiling. Like I said, a Godox TT350 would be best. Something powerful and you can point up to the ceiling. Oh, hey Walter, how are you? Yeah. Oh my goodness, I have to start my next stream. I'm so far behind here. Are your clients not happy with the videos that makes you want to upgrade? No, no. It's not my clients, it's me. I know what the limitations of the camera are that I have now. And if I can find a camera that can get beyond those limitations in a significant way, then that's why I'm looking. I'm looking for a camera that will significantly improve beyond the limitations I'm finding. I'm working within the limitations now and getting, terrific video. I'm very happy with the video, but I'm not happy. I want to be able to do better than what I'm seeing from other videographers doing the same thing that I'm doing. If I can do better than them, because I know from the videos that I'm seeing that they're producing, I can't do better than that with the equipment that I have. And they're getting paid for that, but my goal is to be able to take business away from them, because I'm not getting new business for video work with what I'm getting now. So I want to be able to say, look at the quality of the video that I'm producing versus what they're producing. And if I can significantly improve that, I don't know. I may be chasing a, whatever that phrase is. It may not be possible, even with a Panasonic S5, for me to get better quality video over my competition. I'm not sure. That's what I'm not sure about yet. If that's the case, if the video is not significantly better, the image quality with, say, an S5, I'm not going to buy it, So I'm a little torn about how I'm going to, because once I buy the camera, I know I'm not going to return it. So that's why I'm really waiting for a really good deal, and also I want to see more videos and comparisons, particularly for the kind of work I'd be doing, where I'm pulling shadows and highlights. And right now the S5 is just blowing away the BMPCC that I can, and anything Panasonic otherwise, and other cameras because of the 422 internal 10-bit, like the Nikon Z6 and Z6 II, 8-bit internal, right? Sony A7 III, 8-bit internal. A7S III, yeah, full on, but double the price. Full everything. But it still had some color issues. The color science is still a little bit off, even on the A7S III. I mean, there's so many things, right, to consider that I'm looking into. Like I said, maybe I'm just trying too hard. I'm looking at too much of the fine print, and I'm not going to get that much better performance over what I'm getting with my Olympus. And that's the problem with watching all these YouTube reviews and things, because they are, even if they're not doing it intentionally, right? They're really trying to show you the very best this camera can do, and I don't know if I can really rely on that. I have to be able to use the camera myself, shoot with it, and see what is the best I can do, not what's the best they can do, right? Because they're professional videographers, a lot of them, that are reviewing these kinds of cameras, and they're getting really amazing results. And I don't know if, even if I had that camera in my hand, if I'd be able to reproduce what they can do, with the tools that I have and the experience that I have. And then by the time I get good enough at it, something else will be out that I'll wish I had, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, video. Roberto's asking, do you have to learn video techniques also? Definitely. It's a whole different mindset when you're working with video. Whole different skill set. And Nature says, just downloaded and looking at video I shot using the M1 Mark II on a tripod 300 lens 1.8. Set the camera CK4 looking in Final Cut Pro. The video I shot of birds on feeders with a lot of movement looks amazingly sharp. Yeah, the C4K sharpness is not an issue when you're using the Cinema 4K on the Olympus and you're shooting an ON-Log 400. You have really nice grading options. Like I said, I'm very happy with it. I'm trying to see if I can go next level though, right? Can I take it another level? Because I know what the limits are based on some of the videos I've done. I'm seeing some limitations that if I can overcome with another camera, I'll consider buying it. And Marcel Van Kant says, hello Rob, my son is studying directing and I bought him a GH5S before he used the G9 and the difference between the two cameras is significant. Yes, I heard it's about at least one stop difference in low light. But I'm typically not going over ISO 1600 in my video work. I'm not sure the GH5S is going to give me the kind of advantage that is available to it. Because under 1600 ISO, it seems okay. So what I'm curious about though is how much can I pull the shadows and highlights between a GH5 and a GH5S in post-processing? Because yeah, it's going to have better noise performance in the GH5S. That theoretically should give me a little bit more latitude, but I don't know if the GH5S is going to be significantly better in the kind of work that I do. I just don't know, you know. We'll see. I'll have to try. I'll have to see. Oh, a little cheap LED, yeah. Like I said, cheap. You can use cheap lighting on subjects that are not that your eye is not color sensitive to. And John Trigg says, hi Rob, do you know if you can turn off the EVF on the EM1 Mark III when doing time lapse? No. As far as I know, you cannot. The best thing to do is to dim it. If it's going to be a long time lapse, it's just to dim it as dark as you can. And BGH1, yeah, I like I said, that's the new Panasonic video, right? I'm looking. I looked at it. I'm gonna rule it out though because there's no display on it. I'd have to attach an external monitor, and that'd be an issue if it's the camera I'm thinking of. Oh wow, that's a really good deal, David. $8.99 for an EM1 Mark II. Get OMD is the coupon code. Yeah, if you don't have an EM1 Mark II, you should get one. You know, well, I don't want to say that. You don't need to get an EM1 Mark II. Nobody needs to get an EM1 Mark II. But if you've been thinking about getting one, that's a good deal. And then speaking, when I was on Zoom, my video chat had a red tint. Should I get the LED bulb that you have? No, just put a lamp in front of you with a good bright light on it. You'll be all right, Lynn. In 10 minutes. Oh crap! I gotta go to my next stream. I'm sorry, everyone. Whoops. Man, there's a bunch of chat here that I didn't get to. Yeah, IBIS is not an issue for me, John. So I got to go to my next stream. Thanks, everybody, for coming in today. It was great seeing everybody again. Sorry we talked about video for so long, but I guess there's some interest there. We'll see you guys again on Tuesday morning.